Shalom Aleichem. My name is Tzvi Goldberg, and I'm proud to welcome you to the pre-Pesach webinar in conjunction between Star K and the Young Israel and the Young Israel Council of Rabbis. We're pleased, Star K is pleased to have many programs together with Young Israel, programs for Rabbanim, for consumers, and we want to extend a special Yashir Koyach to Rabbi Moshe Heinemann, who we worked with him to produce this webinar, and we have a wonderful relationship. Rabbi Heinemann Shlita really doesn't need any introduction to those who are watching. You know him as a posek, as the Rav HaMachshir of Star K, as the Rav of the Agudas Yisrael of Baltimore, and Rav Heinemann fields questions from around the world, from Rabbanim, from Balabatim. So really, for me to say anything about it is really extraneous. But I will tell you one thing that just came up yesterday, that we have in the past certified matzah as 18-minute matzah. And when we discovered that matzah is not really 18 minutes, it's really 22 minutes. This is not the topic of Rabbi Heinemann's discussion, but it nonetheless is, it does have to do with Pesach. That we discovered that it was a 22-minute really production. And Rabbi Heinemann didn't have a problem with the kashrus of it, because kashrus-wise, chometz-wise, it's okay. Because they're kneading the dough, they keep working with it. But he felt it wasn't yashrus from a Kosher mishpat shayla, that they are calling this 18-minute matzah, and really it is 22-minute matzah, and people don't realize that and don't understand that. So we removed our certification from that particular product, even though obviously a Hechsher agency has to give certifications. That's how we fund the programs. But he felt it was not yashrus, and it wasn't right, and we took it off. The balabas who was running that Hechsher admitted that he also didn't understand 100%. It also bothered him, but what could he do? Everybody calls it 18-minute matzah, and so he continued with it. But in Rav Heinemann's, with his yashrus and his wanting always to be forthright and forthcoming and honest and yosher, did not feel that it was appropriate. And without further ado, just want to present Rav Heinemann Shlita to give a shir on Shtaros from Mechiras Chometz.
Good afternoon, everyone. As you know, a yid that has a kazaz of chametz in his possession on Pesach, he's over on Bayra Bayamatze every minute, second that he has that chametz in his rishus. Even though that he already was mavatal the chametz before Pesach, he's over midrabanan, and it is asa bahana forever. You could sell the chametz to a guy before Pesach, then the chametz is not yours. It's only if it belongs to you. Now the question is, someone wants to sell whiskey or beer and he doesn't have a liquor license. The question is this considered a valid sale since the government forbids it, or not? Dina malchus adina. So maybe the sale is invalid. So the Samsofis says in a tshuva that, and there's another question. The question is, there may be some chametz which is subject to sales tax in various places, and the question is, if you don't pay the sales tax, is the sale valid or not? And even if it is valid, but maybe you're going against the law of the land, which we're not allowed to do. So the Samsofis says that it's not considered going against the law because the law considers this sale as a religious exercise, doesn't really look at it like a sale, because whoever, as according to the custom, whatever is sold to the goy the guy sells it back again after Pesach. So it's just going through the motions of selling it. They don't look at it like a sale. You don't need a liquor license for it if there's liquor involved, and you don't have to pay any sales tax on it. They don't look at it like a sale. But more than that, even if they did look at it like a sale, it doesn't affect the validity of the sale, because they don't say that if you sell liquor without a liquor license that the sale is not valid. They merely say that you're not allowed to sell it without a liquor license. They don't say that if you don't pay the sales tax that the sale is not valid. They say you're required to pay the sales tax. So if it would be looked at as a sale, there may be a problem over here of selling something against the law, but it will not affect the status of the chometz. It will be not considered chometz over Pesach because it does belong to the guy. So you have to sell it to the guy before the zman is hana, because once the chometz is also hana, then you lose your ownership of it automatically. Ownership means you can do whatever you want. If you can't even have enough of it, you can't sell it, you can't do anything with it, you lose your ownership, and then the sale is not valid. So the Kosher says that a person should not think of the Mechiras Chometz as some religious exercise, but you have to have a determination of mind that the chometz is not yours anymore. It belongs to the guy, and if he wants to keep it and pay for it, so then pay up the money that he owes for it, so then it says and he can do with whatever he wants. Now the Rav, who is the shliach of the people that have designated him to sell the chometz to the guy, the right thing is, like it says in the Mechiras Chaim, that they should enumerate what kind of chometz they're selling, how much they have, where the chometz is, and how to get it, where they get hold of the key to go in, if they want to take the chometz during Pesach. Now, I also think that they should designate what they think the price of the chometz is, how much it's worth, because what kind of a stupid guy would buy something, he doesn't know what he's buying, he doesn't know where it is, how to get there, and he doesn't know how much it's worth. What is he doing here? So therefore, if we're serious about this mechira, it should be something which the guy knows. Then he knows what he's getting, how to get it, where it is, and that how much it's worth. Now the custom is that when you sell the chometz to the guy, so you don't really know the price of the chometz, because even though the sellers, the ones who appointed the Rav, they may say what the price is, but they may exaggerate the price to make it bigger than it really is. If you buy a box of cereal for $3, once you opened it, and so even if you just took one portion or no portion, it automatically is worth maybe 75 cents or something like that. Can't sell in the regular market. No one's going to buy an open box. So therefore, the actual price of it is not so simple to determine. What the custom is we say to the guy like this: we're selling this chometz. We don't know exactly. People claim it's worth a lot of money, or it's worth this amount of money, but after Pesach, we will designate 3 people who are knowledgeable in how to estimate the price of this chometz, and which we both agree to, and they will determine the amount, how much you have to pay. So if they determine that the chometz is worth $500,000, so then you'll pay the $500,000. In the meantime, you'll pay me $50 or $100 as the down payment, which is the beginning of the payment, and the rest of the money you'll pay me after Pesach. Now, of course, if the guy decides that he wants to sell back the chometz, he wouldn't have to sell him anything anymore after. He wouldn't have to determine the price after Pesach. It doesn't make any difference. They'll decide how much profit he should make, and then whatever it would be worth is really not important, because he's going to give him this profit, and whatever will be worth. So the custom is that they, as I said, that they take a down payment, which is the beginning of the payment of the whole amount, which is unknown at this time, even though there's an idea, but we don't know exactly. But it's important that in this down payment there should be a pruta for every person that the Rav is representing. So if he has 1,000 people who is representing, so you need a pruta for each one. Now how much is a pruta? The pruta, I believe, is about 10 cents today. Even though that the Rambam says a pruta is a chatzi sa'ur shel kesef, but the Rabbi Moshe says in the truth that you can't buy anything for that amount of money, so then it is not considered money. So there used to be a time where I remember in my younger years that you could weigh yourself in any public place for a penny. Those days are long gone. Today it costs 25 cents. There used to be a time when you can buy 2 pieces of chocolate or 2 pieces of bubble gum in a machine for a penny. So you can't get that anymore. Even the round balls of bubble gum, I don't think you can get it anywhere for less than 10 cents. And so therefore I would think that 10 cents is the smallest amount for which you could buy something, even though you could buy a postage stamp for 1 cent, but that's just a different type of money. If you're fast enough, you may be able to pour yourself 1 cent's worth of gas, but it's not done. And it's usually not, you can't be fast enough to pump just 1 cent. Automatically it will go to much more than that. So 10 cents is considered a pruta. If 10 cents is considered a pruta, and you have 1,000 people that you're representing, that means that the deposit has to be at least $100. That's the amount that the guy has to give you as the down payment on this chametz. Now, when you rent him the place where the chametz lies, you also need a pruta for each transaction, and therefore, if you're representing 1,000 people, you need another $100. Now, the guy might not come up with $200 to buy the chametz. You're allowed to give him a present before the mechir. You say this is yours, and you give him a present, even though you're not supposed to give a present to a guy for no reason. But this is considered for a reason. You want to make the Mechiras Chometz, so therefore it would be permitted. When a person should not sell his chametz to 2 rabbanim. So as far as you think you'll be a nice fellow, you sell to this rav, and then you want to go to another rav, either because you want to give him some money, or because you don't trust the first rav that he knows how to sell it properly, or whatever reason. Because when you sell it to the second rav, there is a question brought down in one of the Priya Sada that maybe Charles and Chul's Priya Sada, that maybe when you go to the second Rav, you'll be mavatal the permission you gave to the first Rav to be a shliach. And there's another question that in the shtar, there's a date on the shtar, but it's not clear what time of the day that this chametz was sold. And since it's not clear, sometimes it's not clear at what time it was sold, and these 2 rabbanim sold them to 2 goyim. If the 2 goyim we each claimed that they bought the chametz, and they would go to a bezdin or to court, there wouldn't be known who was the one who really bought it. So if it's not known, neither of them can claim. It's a moment shein l'tovim. And in such a case, the yid would stay with the chametz. So therefore, you should pick the rav that you want to sell it to, and sell it to him and no one else. If the Jew's not in his house and he forgot to sell his chametz, and you're his rav, and you want to do him a favor and sell his chametz for him, can you do that? Because we have a cloud l'zochen la'adam shloi b'fanav, since it's a benefit for him, he's a frum yid and he wants to sell his chametz, so it's a schus for him, and therefore you could do it even though that he doesn't know about it, or maybe we only say Zachin le'adam, you gave him something, but over here Zachin me'adam, you're selling something that belongs to him, maybe you don't say Zachin me'adam shlei b'fanav. So I heard from Rav Nachum Per Ol Vashalom. He was very chashuv Rav, and he asked this question to Rav Gustman, and Rav Gustman told him, name Rav Chaim Oizer, Zechron Lebracha, that you can do that b'shas hadchak. So actually, the Achronim have a machlekes about that. The Shas and Jews Ber Yitzchak is Mekel, the Imre Yoshe and the Divrei Chaim also Mekel. The Divrei Malkiel is Mafakpik on this, and there's other Achronim that will speak about this question. But Reb Chaim Oizer was machriya that you could do that b'shas hadchak. So everyone should sign his name on the Shtar HaShah, in which it was written that he appoints the Rav to represent him to sell his chametz to whoever the Rav wants to sell to. And he should write what his chametz is, how much it's worth according to his opinion, and that he gives reshus to the guy that bought it to go in and take the chametz, and where if he's not home, how he can get access to the key. Now the Rav makes another shtar mechira. He's selling it to the guy, and now there's a problem. There's a shtar harshah. That means that the shtar which the yid gave to the Rav, that he has a power of attorney to sell a chametz, and then there's a shtar mechira. Now each one by itself doesn't mean anything, because the shtar shah just says that he gives him permission. But it's not a shtar mechira. The shtar mechira doesn't say who gave him the permission. So the meaning was that he used to sew them together, or what I do is I usually put all the shtar shah in a box, and I tape the box shut, and I tape the shtar mechira onto the box, and then I give them all together at one time in front of Eidim to the guy, so that because they should all be considered like one. You're not allowed to tell the guy to say that I'm selling to you now, but I'm going to buy it back after Pesach, because that's like a time in the mechira, and then it's only a mechira lizman. It's only a temporary mechira, and a mechira lizman is not a kinyan haguf, as it says in the Ran and the Dharm, and it would not be a valid sale. You're not allowed to tell the guy that he is required to sell back to you for the same reason. But you are allowed to tell the guy that it's your intention to buy it back from him. You can tell from the very beginning it's your intention to buy it back, as long as he understands that he's under no obligation to sell back if he doesn't want, and that you, the Rav, are not under no obligation to buy it back from him after Pesach either. So the right thing to write in the Shtar HaShah, which is the shtar which the people give to the Rav, and in the Shtar Mechira, that he's all the chametz which is made from the 5 types of grain he's selling. Kidneys you don't have to sell, and that he sells them taruvas chametz, not just chametz, and he also sells them things that have been cooked together with chametz, even though the chametz has been removed. And what is chametz? So if you say anything's made out of the 5 types of grain, that is that's dangerous, because if you're selling anything that's made out of 5 types of grain, then the matzah is sold also. It's also made from 5 types of grain, and if you don't own the matzah, the Rosh says you have to have shalai on the matzah, has to be yours, and so you wouldn't be yours to the mitzvah matzah. So what you can write is you're selling everything's made out of 5 types of grain, which a yid is not allowed to own during the 8 days of Pesach. But who decides if you're allowed to own it, not allowed to own it, what's considered chametz and what's not considered chametz? So I spoke to a lawyer that it's proper to write down a place that describes it, like the Mishnah Berurah, that anything the Mishnah Berurah says is chametz, I'm selling you. Anything the Mishnah Berurah says that we're not allowed to have is included in the sale, and that helps on the din, according to the din malchusa also. Now, it's my opinion, which I know that other people may disagree with it, that the shtar you make with a guy should be in a language which the guy understands. You make the shtar in Hebrew, it's like you make the shtar in Greek, and the guy agrees, yes, he nods his head, doesn't know what he's talking about. What kind of shtar is that? What kind of agreement is that? So therefore, it should be a language he understands and that he can deal with that. Okay, so the minig is to rent to the guy the place where the chametz is. So you can say the closet, it's a room, you can say that, basement, whatever, wherever you want to put the chametz. You don't have to sell chametz dishes, because there's no mamashas of chametz there, there's just tam. There's no bayra baymas on tam, as long as they're clean. And you don't have to sell kitnias. You're allowed to actually benefit from kitnias, and you want to use the oil to light Shabbos candles, you want to use corn oil, there's no problem with that. You just sell the chametz. If he doesn't have chametz, but just has some chashashas, let's say that you have a baking pan, but it's too much bother for the person to clean them. You're not going to use them on Pesach, but they may have chametz which is baked onto it, which is not ashes. So then, if that's all you're selling, just these baking pans or pots, which is hard to clean, so I'm very mesupik whether it's shy to sell that, because if that's all you're selling, it is not worth anything. There's no kin kesef, which it could be, if it has no value, the kin kesef cannot work for it. And besides that, which a person is ever going to want to buy this? But if you sell the whole pan together with the chametz that's on it, so that's fine, you can do that. So, but if you do that, when after Pesach, when you want to use it again, you would have to, number one, tovel it without a bracha. That's number one. And number two, you're going to have to clean it before you tovel it, because you're not allowed to be a chatzitza between what's on it and the keli itself. Now, you don't have to clean that as much as you do for Pesach, because for Pesach, it doesn't help if you're not makbid. After Pesach, if you're not makbid on it, it's not considered chatzitza. So that is something which is possible to do. Okay. So if they want to sell a pan, then you have to write in the shtar mechir with the guy, and the shtar mechir, the shtar shah, that you're giving rishus to sell other things, which are together to what she wants to sell together with the chametz. Now, how do you sell in the place where the chametz is? You have the chametz in a room, but if you're renting and you have a clause in your rental agreement, you're not to sublet. So now you're subletting it to a guy. So basically it's not a problem. Number one, and this is in the Jewish Marshag, and according to some cipher that the guy probably won't come in, so it's not the government doesn't look at it like subletting, even though he has wishes to go in. But besides that, I think that the whole problem of the no sublet clause is only that you can't let someone come there to live there. But you're not giving him permission to live there. You're renting it to him to keep his things there, and to keep his chametz there. And if he wants to put something else there, he can put it too, because it's only because keep his chametz, then you really are benefiting from the chametz, that you're getting money from subletting something which is just for chametz. So you have to let him leave the other things there also, but he can't live there, and on that is not included in the sublet clause. So if the one who owns the chametz went to Eretz Yisrael for Pesach or to Europe, so you have to sell his chametz before you sell everyone else's chametz, because usually you wait until after you can't eat it anymore to sell it, because if you can't sell it, and then the person will eat it afterwards and be over the issa of gzeila and making a bracha v'atola, because ain't zeh bracha l'manayit, or whatever. So you want to sell only in the zman that it can be still mutar b'hana. Now, by that time, it's already been for quite 6-7 hours already, Pesach, past the time that you're not allowed to have chametz in Eretz Yisrael. And in Europe also, it'll be after the Zman. So therefore, you have to sell it earlier. So if someone's going to Los Angeles for Pesach, then you've got the other problem. When you buy back the chametz, and of course everyone wants you to buy back the chametz immediately after Pesach. Everyone's starving for chametz, haven't been able to eat chametz never for 8 days. So you want to buy it back right away. So now But if they're going to be in LA, it's still Pesach for them, and it comes out that you're buying back the chametz when by them it is still Pesach. So they're going to have chametz on Pesach. Now, do you go after the owner or do you go after the chametz? This is a question which is dealt with in the Tshuva from the Anig Yontov and other achronim, and Lamaisa we're machmir both ways because there is no clear answer to this question. Now, someone goes to Eretz Yisrael and he sells his chametz in Eretz Yisrael, he's got another problem. In Eretz Yisrael, they only have 7 days of Yontov, so the Rav is going to buy it back after 7 days. But you keep 8 days, so then you got to tell the Rav. Either way, what happens, you're supposed to tell the Rav that you take care of the problem. How does the Rav take care of the problem? So one way is that the Rav should buy the chametz for himself, and then he owns it and he will sell it. But that doesn't help if the Rav doesn't sell real chametz, and the one who's asking to sell does sell real chametz. And besides that, why should the Rav want to get into problems? He has enough problems of his own. Does he need the problems of someone else's chametz? So the one way to do it is to make an early mechira the night before for people that have their chametz in Eretz Yisrael or going to Eretz Yisrael, we're going to be in Eretz Yisrael. After Pesach, for people in LA, I learned a trick from Rav the Shiva of Neisra, Yaakov Moshe Kalevsky, Zecher Tzaddik Livracha. What he did is like this. On Motzei Pesach, he said to the guy, he phoned the guy. He told the guy, phone me. So the guy spoke on the telephone. He said, I sold you the chametz before Pesach, and now I want you to, I'd like to buy it back. So the guy says, fine. So he said, let's go back tomorrow morning and we'll complete the sale. That means you're going to give him the money for his profit. So the guy says, okay. So then you say to the guy, okay, look, if I'm going to buy it back from you anyway tomorrow morning, do you give us permission to use it already now, tonight? So the guy says, yes. Okay, so now what happens is it really belongs to the guy, but you have permission to use it. So the people who are in LA, they didn't get the transport back yet. And people who are here, they are the ones, they could use it, and so therefore we get out of the problem. Also should be written in the shtar that if one of so you're selling for 1,000 people, if one of them is going to be invalid because he doesn't have any chametz, or for what other reason he sold to another Rav and it's not going to be valid, it should not affect the sale of the others. So that is important. Now, actually, the chametz is sold in 6 ways. One is that you give over the shtar in front of 2 edim, and 2 edim sign it, 2 witnesses, and you give it in front of them. And the guy should understand that when he has the shtar, not only is he being kind of with the shtar, being kind of the chametz, also being kind of the rental agreement that you have to rent the place to where the chametz is. Second thing is with kesef, that or maybe it's the first thing, the money that he gives you should be kind of the chametz, and the money he gives you separately for the mechira, for the skiras makom, it should be for the skiras makom. You write in the shtar, the skiras makom starts from this time until sometime after Pesach, whereas after Pesach even in Los Angeles. And so that there shouldn't be any question that the chametz is in the rishus of the guy. So those are the 2 ways how you kind of chametz. Now besides that, and you tell the guy that there are different ways how to be kaina, and if this one doesn't help, the other one should help. And the third way is through agav, that since he's kaina the skiras makom with kesef and shtar, which helps for sure on the makom. So you kind of the metatlim agav, and even though that so you kind of agav, whether agav helps by a guy or not is not so simple, but some say it does help. The fourth way is with kinah chatzah, but the difference is by agav you don't need tziburim; it doesn't have to be in the place. Chatzah is only if it's in the place. And the Gemara says, Chas mishum shlichus is rabbi, according to one man da'ama, and shlichus doesn't help by a guy, so it doesn't, not for sure that it helps. The other one is the kinyan suda. The guy should give you something. So let's say his watch, he gives you the watch, and you, is a barter system, and you're giving back in change all the chametz that people are giving you. But then, of course, you give back the watch to the guy right away. And the sixth way is through stumta. That means whatever the minig is, that closes the deal. You shake hands with the guy on the deal, and then it's his chometz. He takes all the shtaros with him, wherever he wants, and the deal is over. Now, if the guy's a woman, so then how do you shake a hand with a woman? So you get your wife to shake the hand for you. Ishta kagufa, it's considered like you shook. It doesn't matter who shakes it. Now, of course, you have to make sure that he's a guy. So if he is muksik to be a guy in the community, so then you can assume that he's a guy. If chazusai mechiach olav, that he's a guy, so then that's also a good way how to assume that he's a guy, and that's how it would work. I want to thank everyone for listening to me. Thank you, and have a good Yom Tov.